The goal of this video is to demonstrate usage of a foldout in a custom Unity editor window. This foldout will replicate the existing functionality in Unity when you click on a game object, and it'll show the object's position, rotation, and scale. So to start out, we're going to create a new C# script within a folder called editor. I already created one called Foldouts. I'm going to open that, delete everything inside the class, add a using at the top for using Unity Editor, and then change MonoBehavior to Editor Window. Now we're going to show this window via public static void, I'll call it show. Then set the class name Foldouts, variable name will be W for window equals Foldouts, get window, type of, and then Foldouts. I'm going to set a min size and a max size. So the min size will be a new vector 2, 250 by 250. And I'll set a max size. Now these sizes are not required, but it's a good practice to set limitations on the min and max size for Unity Editor window. At the top, I'm going to add a menu item, window/foldouts. So that when we save this and go back to Unity, we can go to the toolbar at the top, window, foldouts, and there's our editor window. Now we're going to add the foldout to this window. Private void onGUI. We're going to set up some variables at the top. First will be a boolean, we'll call it open, set it to true, and that's whether the foldout is actually open or closed. We're going to set up a string, call it status, and we'll set the status to select a game object, and that's when it's closed or a game object hasn't been selected. And then we'll set up a vector 4 for rotation, and you'll see why that is in a minute. So we're going back to our onGUI, and we're going to set open equals editor GUI layout dot foldout open and status. Now if open is true, and then if selection.active transform, meaning the game object has an active transform, then we're going to set up first the position, so selection.activeTransform.position equals editor GUI layout dot vector 3 field. We give it a label of position. Then we're going to say selection dot active transform dot position, and that's it. Now we're going to scroll back, and now we're going to set up the rotation, which is a bit more difficult. So we're going to set rotation equals editor GUI layout dot vector 4 field. Give it a label of rotation. Then we actually need to set up a different function to convert this. We're going to set that up down below. So create a new function called vector 4. We'll call it to vector 4, simply put, and pass in a quaternion q. And all we're going to do is return a new vector 4, and we'll use that q.x, q.y, q.z, and then q.w. We're actually also going to set up the other conversion as well. We'll call it quaternion to quaternion, and then we're going to pass in a vector 4, but we're going to return a new quaternion. I'll put in the vector 4. We'll just call it v, and we're going to do pretty much the same thing. Call it v. It's setting itself to vector. Hold on, let me fix this. I'll just call it v4, and then we're going to do the same thing. It'll be v4.x, v4.y, v4.z, v4.w. There it is, there it's fixed. Then we're going to go back up to rotation and use that conversion of to vector 4 selection.activeTransform.local rotation. We're going to go down. We're going to say selection.activeTransform.local rotation equals to quaternion, using that other function that we set up, of that rotation. So I'm just adding comments here to note the position, the rotation, and then now we have to set up the scale, and the scale is just as simple as position was. So we're going to say selection.activeTransform.local scale equals editor GUI layout.vector 3 field. I'm going to give it a label of scale. We're going to say selection.activeTransform.local scale. We're going to say status, which we defined above, equals transform stats for space plus selection.activeTransform.its name. And that's resetting that status label if it's open. Now, if not selection.activeTransform, we need to set the status back to what we had it up above. Select a game object. And then open equals false, so it won't open. We'll save that. And you see we have select a game object. It won't open if I click on it, but if we go over to my resources folder, I have a cube. Now selecting that cube will allow us to open up the foldout, and you'll notice that the position, rotation, and scale are equivalent values to the regular inspector that's built into Unity. Now the rotation is actually converted, so you won't get the same exact number value as you see in the inspector when I change this, but it is the converted version. And that's it.